Your goals. All right, I gave this message a couple weeks ago as well, and a couple people I think that are on this already heard it, but this is something that I love talking on, is sharing goals and how to enroll your customers in your goals. I think this can be such a I know this can be such a difference maker in terms of getting your customer really bought into what you're doing and want to help you out today. So have someone to take notes with. I don't have any slides, so it's going to be a lot of me talking, and I'm going to give you kind of some, bullet points of like things to cover, but I would definitely take some notes on this stuff. And yeah, let's roll. Okay. So let's talk about why you want to enroll your customers, why you want to get good at sharing your goals. So for those of you that are brand new, that just, maybe finished training this last weekend, we talk in the manual about like sharing your goal, right? Where you're like, right now I'm in my fast start, I have 10 days to sell blank or whatever. That's awesome. And that's kind of like, that's such a intro to sharing your goals, right? It's important that you share a dollar amount with the customer, which is what you're doing. But our top reps, they'll actually expand much more on that. Okay. So the reason why you want to get good at this is you really want to enroll your customers. Again, it buys them into what you're doing. The more bought in they are to you, the more they'll want to buy from you and want to help you. Okay. It really sets the stage and the tone for the entire demo. And if you do this right and you really get your customers bought in, they're going to be absolutely begging to give you referrals at the end. Okay. Not only are they going to want to like pull the trigger and get something today, but they're also going to be like begging to give you referrals at the end because they just want to help you out. Right. So what I want to stress before, and I'm going to talk a little bit more on this at the end, but people don't buy Cutco to help you. Okay. The reason that they buy Cutco today is because it helps you. Okay. So I want to stress that as I'm going through some stuff, it's important to understand that our price point is just way too high for anybody to buy it just to help you out. It's not like the $5 boxes of Girl Scout cookies where you buy 10 boxes to help the kid out. It's not like that. Our average order is $300. This last week, our average order for like our team was $400. Nobody spends $400 just to like help somebody out. But the reason that they get it today is because it helps you towards your goal, or else they'd get it in the future, right? I'm going to talk more on that in a little bit. Okay. So how long should you be sharing your goals? Minimum of 5 minutes. And that's like minimum, right? So I would bet those of you that are brand new, 5 minutes. When I say that, you're like, holy crap, how do you talk about your goal for 5 minutes long? I want to ask Jared Erickson, who I think is still on. Jared, if you can unmute yourself, how long do you share goals with your customer?
It's like 10 to 15 minutes at least.
10 to 15 minutes at least. And AJ watched a demo yesterday. He said the same thing. Watched Jared's demo yesterday. I watched Jared's demo last week. He talked forever on his goals. And so you guys might hear that and think, oh my gosh, 10 to 15 minutes. How on earth do you talk about 10 to 15 minutes? I'm going to give you bullet points to touch on, but 5 minutes should be like the bare minimum. Okay. I share goals for at least 10 minutes with my customers, and it really buys them into, again, what you're doing. Okay. So there's really, when you're sharing your goals, there's 5 important things for you to touch on with your customers. Okay. So there's 5 things that you want to talk about. And if you can cover these 5 things, trust me when I say like your customers are going to be really excited to help you out. Okay, go ahead and write down the first thing. First thing you want to share with your customers is to share past success. So share past success. All right, so this goes for anybody. This goes for even if you are in your very first week on the job, if you finish training on Saturday, or if you've been doing the job for a year. Okay, it doesn't matter. You just want to share some type of past success with the customer. So let's say you started just this past weekend. Okay, we have a lot of new people on the call. Let's say you started this past weekend. You want to share some type of success that you've had already with the job, right? So it could be, I already, Mrs. Jones, I just started this last weekend and I've already sold $1,000. It doesn't have to be anything like grandiose. Like it can be something simple as like, hey, I sold $1,000, or I've had 3 customers buy from me already. Okay. The reason why is people, there's all these, you hear a lot of people wanting to like root for the underdog. I actually don't think that's as true as people wanting to root for the top dog. right? So you think about like bandwagon, like that's a real thing, right? Like people like getting on the bandwagon. They like rooting for people that are successful, right? That's really real in Cutco as well. So it doesn't have to be anything major, but you want to share some type of past success. This is also an aspect of social proof. Okay, so when you share past success, whether it's, you know, Mrs. Jones, I've been working for a year, I've already sold $50,000 of the product. Or Mrs. Jones, I started mid-December and I'm #1 in the nation. I've sold $60,000 of Cutco so far in the last 2.5 months. Or Mrs. Jones, I started 2 weeks ago and I'm already at 13 grand in sales. I was #6 in the nation last week.
Colleen,
Okay.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but a lot of people like school and sports too. Like I was on the ski team and I was like on varsity. And when people hear that I like competed for state, they're like, oh my God, that's like the coolest thing. So like if you have like sports success or like school success, like if you made like the honor roll, definitely include that in there because people like dig that.
Totally. And that's a great point. You want to talk a lot about yourself. That's something that you want to do when you're sharing like the about you stuff, right? So that's awesome when it's like, hey, let me tell you a little bit about myself, you know, in high school, blah, blah, blah. That's awesome. Okay, so this is also, I mentioned this is also an aspect of social proof. So it says, oh, if people are buying from this person, people are buying Cutco from them, maybe I probably will want to buy too, right? People like thinking of themselves as like normal. So if they're hearing that like, oh, all these people bought, that seems normal then. I like to be normal too. Maybe I should buy from this person too. So it opens them up to the idea of like, oh, this person knows what they're doing, right? People like rooting for the top dog, okay? And other people are buying. It also just shows that you're good at what you do, right? People like buying from like credible people and sources, right? So it shows that you're good at what you do. You're probably somebody that like they'd be comfortable buying from, right? Think about it. If you go out to eat at a restaurant and you see like 2 restaurants on the street, one is totally dead, not a single person in there. And the other one has like, you know, is packed. People like, you know, there's a line out the door. Which restaurant are you going to want to go into? 100% the restaurant that's packed that has a lot of people waiting to get in, right? Because it's the social proof of like, oh, people are buying from them. I want to buy from them. Okay, so share past success. Doesn't have to be anything grandiose, but again, oh, Mrs. Jones, you know, I just started this last weekend. I already hit my first promotion. I sold $1,000. Or I've had 3, or it doesn't matter. Okay, so share past success. Number 2, second thing that you want to share with your customer while you're sharing your goal is share your current dollar amount goal. So your current dollar amount goal. Okay, and it's really, really important that this is a dollar amount, right? So I remember being brand new, and there can be like a little bit of nerves when you're brand new on sharing a dollar amount goal. You got to just like get rid of that, because if a customer doesn't hear a dollar amount of what you're trying to achieve, like they don't know what you're actually working towards. So I've learned that this can be the case for a lot of people, is like if they're new on the job and they haven't been getting a lot of sales in the moment, and it's people wanting to think about it, it's because they don't understand that it's going to help you today if they get it today, right? There's never going to be like a perfect time to buy Cutco, right? No one ever like budgets for knives. That's just not a thing unless you're Mike Abramovich, right? And randomly you had somebody that actually budgeted for knives. I've never heard that before.
It was so sweet. It was like the first thing they said.
Right. So people like, they don't budget for that, right? So there's never going to be like a perfect time. So what I want to like, you know, share with that is you should share a dollar amount goal at least 3 times, right? Power of 3. We talk about this all the time. We do this in training, right? Power of 3. You want to share it at least 3 times. So Mrs. Jones, let me tell you a little bit about my current goal. So currently I'm in my fast start. I'm trying to sell $10,000. Or if you're out of your fast start, you still want to share a dollar amount goal. It's like, hey, Mrs. Jones, this week, I'm really trying to sell $2,000. Or this spring, I'm trying to sell $25,000. Here's how much I've sold so far. I'm trying to sell $10,000 because blank. And the 3 things that you want to share with your dollar amount goal, so this is like, these are like sub points, right? So when you share a dollar amount goal, you want to share what hitting this dollar amount goal will mean to you. So what this dollar amount goal will mean to you. what it will get you, and how will you feel when you hit it. Okay, so the 3 sub points when you share a dollar amount goal, what hitting this dollar amount goal will mean to you, what it will get you, and how you will feel when you hit it. Okay, so let me dive into that. So when you say, hitting this dollar amount, what it's going to mean to me, it's going to show me that I was actually able to, follow through on something that I committed to. Be vulnerable with your customers. They respect that a lot. When you can actually say something super vulnerable like that, they love it. They're like, cool, like this person's really working hard. What it will get you, it's totally fine to say, hey, if I hit $10,000, I'm going to earn $2,000 in income. I'm going to hit 4 promotions in my first 10 days. I'm also going to win a President's Club letter, which is a hand-signed letter from the president of the company. Also, I mentioned I'm going to earn $2,000. That's also going to help me feel really confident and comfortable going into the next school year with my student loans. I have a big goal of graduating college debt-free, or, it's going to help me pay for that apartment or that new car, right? So share what it's going to get you. It's totally okay if that stuff's material. And then how are you going to feel when you hit it? That kind of relates to the first one, right? But it's like, I'm going to feel so, happy and proud of myself when I hit it. I really want to be able to follow through on something that I committed to. I'm going to feel so proud of myself. I'm going to feel so accomplished. Again, be vulnerable with your customers. That really, it makes you relatable to that customer. Okay. Number 3, third thing to talk about when you're sharing your goals. You want to talk about how hard you've been working. So number 3, talk about how hard you've been working. People respect hard work. So if you're in training, right? Like let's say, again, you're brand new on the job. Talk about how you trained for over 15 hours in 3 days, right? How you sat through training. How you've been doing, 4 or 5 demos a day, maybe 6, 7, 8 demos a day for the last, 5 days. People like cheering for people that work hard, right? No one's inclined to want to help somebody that's being lazy, right? So when you talk about, hey, here's how hard I've been working. Also too, if they have kids at home, guys, most students are being ultra lazy right now. I think you guys can see that from maybe what most of your friends are doing. But most students, young adults, they're being super lazy because they don't have much to do. So if the person you're talking to is a parent and they have a student or whatever at home, they're probably really going to respect the fact that you're bettering yourself and working hard. And it's okay to even mention that to the customer. Oh yeah, Mrs. Jones, so to give you a little bit of an idea of how hard I've been working towards my goal, I've been getting up every morning around 7 or 8 or 6 or earlier, even in quarantine when it would be so easy to sleep in like all my friends. And I've been making phone calls every morning to keep my schedule booked, taking my online classes, doing, 2 to 3 demos a day, 4 to 6 demos a day, whatever. And then I try to do all my schoolwork. So I've been working around the clock nonstop just because I'm so committed to hitting my goal. Right? So talk about how hard you've been working. Again, people are inclined to want to help people that are working hard towards their goal, not people that are, lazy. Right? All right. Number 4, fourth thing to share in sharing your goals. This one is my favorite thing because I think it is so key, and I've seen how it can shift the vibe in the demo. Number 4 is to thank your parents. Look at Jared's nodding his head. Thank your parents. Okay, guys, trust me when I say this is an absolute game changer and really gets them bought into you as a child, them as a parent, right? So you want to share your gratitude with your customer for everything that your parents do for you. Okay, so why do you want to do this? Because most likely the person that you're doing a demo for, they're a parent. Not always, right? But most of the time, if you're showing an HM30, I would say the majority of the time they have kids themselves, whether they're little kids, high school, right? College, doesn't matter. This is really where you impress your customer beyond words, okay? So this customer, when you're sitting there thanking your parents, the customer's thinking, wow, I wish my kid was more like that, right? I really respect this kid. Okay, so it doesn't matter even what you really thank them for. It can be anything. It can be, you know, putting you through school, right? If you went to a private school, it's like, I also like, you know, one of the reasons I'm working so hard is because I really want to pull my own weight while I'm home to help my parents out as much as I can. I'm so grateful for everything they've done for me, right? I'm so grateful. As I was growing up, you know, they put me through school or they put me through sports. Let's say they didn't have to put you through school. Maybe you played sports growing up. As you get older, you start to realize like how expensive kids are, right? So like if you played sports growing up, whether it's baseball, hockey, soccer, like that stuff is expensive. So it's like, hey, my parents, they spent a lot of money on me. I played soccer growing up, and you know, that stuff's so expensive, and there's a lot of things that they could have done with that money, and I'm just so grateful for their support throughout the years. Guys, talk as much as you possibly can about your parents. If you're not grateful for your parents, be grateful, okay? Even if you don't have like the situation, right? Like force some gratitude into yourself because you're the person that you are today because of your parents. But find something to thank your parents about, because again, your customers are going to be so impressed with you thanking your parents because they're a parent. This is the part in the demo where you actually get the customer to be like, hey, hold on 1 second. Can you wait? And they go get their kid to like sit in front of the computer to watch you do your demo. Right?
My lady did that yesterday. Both of her kids came and watched after I talked about my parents.
Guys, I'm telling you, it's a game changer. Okay, this gets them so bought into you, and they're like, this kid, I respect the hell out of him. Let me get my kid to watch. I want this person's like a role model for my kids. Guys, trust me, it feels so good when that happens, like what Jared just said. When somebody has their kid come down, like it feels so good. You're like, oh yeah, like nailed it, right? So thank your parents. Okay, number 5, when sharing your goal. Last thing is to open them up to the idea of buying today. Open them up to the idea of buying today. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a money line. And this money line actually gets them thinking like, okay, maybe today is the day that I buy something. Okay, maybe today actually would be the day where I could get some stuff. So I'm going to read through the line and then I'm going to talk a little bit about it. I'm going to read through it a few times, so you're going to want to take notes, maybe type if it's easier. It's a longer phrase. But write this down. I'll repeat it a few times. So again, Mrs. Jones, I cannot thank you enough for taking, actually, guys, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to post it in the chat. Zoom stuff. Easy. There we go. All right, I just posted in the chat so you can read along with it if you like. So again, Mrs. Jones, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to see my presentation today. And just so you know, Mrs. Jones, my biggest goal is actually not to sell you like $10,000 worth of Cutco today. If you see some stuff that you like, definitely get it today because I'll give you the best deal possible because it'll help me out a ton towards my contest and goals. But again, my biggest goal is just that you like me enough that you'd be willing to introduce me to a few people, because I only know so many people and I'm trying to do as many appointments as possible, and I can't really go door to door with knives. Haha.
That makes sense in terms of how it starts.
Okay, so I'll say it again. So this is exactly how I would say it with the demo, or with the customer in the demo. So again, Mrs. Jones, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to see my presentation today. And just so you know too, my biggest goal is actually not to sell you like $10,000 worth of Cutco today. If you see some stuff that you like, definitely get it today because I'll give you the absolute best deal possible because it'll help me out a ton towards my contest and goals. But again, my biggest goal is just that you like me enough, you'd be willing to introduce me to a few people because I only know so many people and I'm trying to do as many appointments as possible and I just can't really go door to door with knives. Okay, guys, this is a money line. What this does is, again, it opens them up to the idea of buying today. And this is a really strategic line. Everything in this phrase is really strategic. So when I say, hey, I can't thank you enough, you're again thanking them for taking the time. And when it says, my biggest goal is not to sell you $10,000 worth of Cutco today, $10,000, that number is also really strategic. What you're doing when you say that, when you say $10,000, is you're actually telling them that they should, like, you're making them expect that Cutco is going to cost $10,000. Right? So I've heard reps in the past say like, oh, my biggest goal is not to sell you like $50,000 worth of Cutco. That's actually not, I actually don't recommend saying a number that big, because that's so outrageous that there's no way somebody would actually believe that Cutco is going to cost $50,000. But people know that kitchen stuff is, high-end kitchen stuff can be pricey, right? So $10,000 is really strategic because it makes them believe that like, oh, this stuff's going to cost 10 grand. So again, we're setting that price expectation. The next line, if you see some stuff that you like, definitely get it today, because I'll give you the best deal possible, because it'll help me a ton towards my goals. So what you're telling them is like, hey, if you see some stuff, today's the day to get it, right? This is what gets somebody to instead think of, oh yeah, maybe in the future too, okay, maybe I would get some stuff today because I'm obviously going to get a good deal and it's going to help them out towards their contest. And I really like this person in front of me. I really want to help them out. So maybe today would be the day. And then right after that, but again, my biggest goal is just that you like me enough that you'd be willing to introduce me to a few people, because I only know so many people and I'm trying to do as many appointments as possible, and I can't really go door to door with knives. Right? So what that does is it, again, opens them up to giving you referrals. So it's that seed plant at the beginning of, okay, they're trying to do as many appointments. I could start thinking about like introducing them to, my two best friends or my sister, or, my book club or whatever, right? So again, plants the seed at the beginning for referrals. Okay, so what I kind of want to like wrap up with is what you have to understand about sharing your goal, again, is that people are not going to buy Cutco to help you out specifically. When you show somebody Cutco, they obviously like it. Right? Everybody knows that like as you go through the demo, when you do the price comparison, when you talk about all the features and benefits, like it's very obvious that Cutco's the best. And as we go through life, we are under the impression that we're gonna have the best stuff in the future. Like you think about you guys right now, I assume all of you guys are thinking like, oh yeah, in the future, I'll have a nice car, or I'll have a really nice house, or I'll have XYZ. Okay? Customers are the same way. They're thinking like, oh yeah, in the future, like Cutco's clearly the best. Someday in the future, we'll have the best. We'll have the best knives, just not, in the future, someday, blah, blah, blah. The reason that somebody gets it today is because it helps you out towards your goal. Again, there's never going to be like the right time to buy knives. There's never a right time for anything. You guys have probably like, learned that in other areas of life too. There's never going to be like the perfect time. So again, no one's going to buy Cutco because it helps you out specifically. The price point's just too high. But the reason that they get it today is because it helps you out towards your goal. And when you really get that customer bought in, that's when you start popping and having those really big sales. And that's when you get somebody to buy today, as opposed to let me think about it. All right, guys, that's what I got. I hope you took some value, some nuggets out of this stuff. And I highly recommend that you spend some time. Like I gave you those 5 bullet points. I highly recommend that you spend some time today writing out your own stuff. That way on your next demo, you're able to like go in, like ready to just rock your goals and blow them away with, how hard you've been working, what you're working towards, your parent, like thanking your parents, all that stuff. So spend some time. It's totally worth the 10 minutes to go in and yeah, write some stuff out. All right, guys, that's what I got. Almost 9:30. You're free to hop off. Thanks for tuning in. If you have questions, stick around. But go crush today. Peace.
Colleen, I do have